All right. Good morning, guys. This is Sunday, March 5th, 2017. Welcome to the Liberty and Freedom Show. My name is Lee. I'm your host. In the gallery, we have our usual suspects. Tom the Bear, how are you today, Tom?
I'm doing good. I'm actually at the range trying to broadcast from outdoors, looking pretty good.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. And of course, Ty, our resident gunsmith. How you doing today, Ty?
Doing pretty good. It's about 35 degrees outside, and the basement is freezing. But hey, I'll tough it out.
There we go. Well, let's see. I probably shouldn't tell you we've been having nice warm weather here. So
Yeah. Don't rub it in. I think I got a high of 35 today, and yesterday, I mean, it felt like it was 15 degrees.
yeah, well, it's getting warm. Haven't had to turn on the air conditioner yet, but it's getting warm here, so that's good. That's good. All right, guys. Well, let's dive right in. There is no shortage of craziness going on in our country, as we know. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw. I want to start out today with the bombshell information. Basically, Trump accusing the Obama administration of wiretapping his phones at Trump Tower and probably everywhere he went beyond that. This is just outrageous. Now, of course, Obozo, being the liar he is, has completely denied that he did it. I have yet to see any actual factual proof, and I do not believe Trump would make this kind of accusation without some form of proof, some evidence that they did it. Ty, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts?
That is amazing. You think about it, and who did he have do this? I don't know. We don't know what the. I would agree with you though that if he claims that, he must have proof that this is what's happened. If he's actually tapping that, when did that? Do we know when he started tapping that? Like when they were running against each other, or sorry, when his campaign was first starting off, or how long he'd been looking into that when he's running against Hillary, or what?
Well, according to the information that's come out, the wiretapping started sometime in October, so about a month before the election was supposed to happen. Now, from what I've read so far, apparently Obozo went to the FISA court, which is this, by the way, for people that don't know, the FISA court is one judge. As far as I know, I don't think we even know the name of the judge. There's no opposing party. The government just goes to this judge to make it legitimate for a warrant to spy on people. So what was the evidence? What was the potential evidence that the Obama administration had that they thought that Trump was doing something criminal? Now, we all know that the NSA is spying on all of us, right? All of our our cell phone calls, our landlines are being recorded. I'm sure that somewhere the NSA is recording our show right now. Well, we're public, so it doesn't matter. So that's when it started. Tom, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, like you said, I would imagine he has some kind of proof to make these allegations. But to be honest, I mean, it doesn't surprise me one bit that something like this would come out, and I don't put it past him and his administration to have done it. This is not surprising to me at all. I would imagine that now as president, maybe he's privy to some more information, and he's got his proof, and he just flat out is calling them out and saying, "Hey, you guys did this. You can't hide it from me anymore." And I'm glad he did. I'm glad he's pointing it out because I believe that it's very, very likely that they did do this.
And just the fact that Obama has come out with a statement and denied that he did it tells me that he did it. And the reason I say that is because in Obama's entire time in office, there's only one true statement he's ever made. I will fundamentally transform America. And he did that. Everything else out of his mouth was a complete and utter lie. And so I'm sure he hasn't stopped lying. So I'm positive that he probably did it, which whether he had any form of legitimacy or not is just, it's ridiculous. And now we're seeing all the opposition to Trump on both the left and the right. And that just tells me that, they're trying to come after Trump and now again, I agree with you. He's probably now privy to information that he never had before. And there are probably people that are, coming to him going, hey, Mr. President, by the way, guess what happened before you got in office? And these things are coming out. This is going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Any other thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's really what I want to know more about what was actually intercepted. What information they were able to gain on that kind of thing. But really, I again, I don't think he had to have any. He should have had to have some sort of legitimate reason. A security breach or something in order to do a wiretap. But instead, it was all with the liberals. It's the ends justify the means. They don't care. He didn't have a legitimate reason to do it. He was afraid of him, and reacted to that fear again.
Yes. And so what's interesting is that Trump finds out that Obama wiretapped his phones, and yet Obama never brought anything out. If they had discovered something legitimate, like actually he was communicating with the Russians, or as everybody's claiming that he did, that the Russians were involved in tampering with the elections, and that Trump has been colluding with them, which is total BS, right? It's all a distraction. Then why didn't he bring that out when he was still president? I mean, Trump got elected, but there was still several months in between the election and inauguration. And Obama could have brought something out. Hey, we have evidence that there was collusion here. He never did that. So guess what? It was all for naught anyway, because it's all total BS. Tom, anything else to add?
The only thing that I would say is the simple fact that Obama came back out with an immediate response almost tells me something too. It tells me that he is trying to negate this as quickly as possible, which again, to me, almost is admission of guilt. I have no doubt that he probably did this and the fact that he responded so quickly to this allegation also says something to me.
I agree with you. I agree. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Last Tuesday evening, excellent speech by Trump to Congress. Not surprising, there was a very partisan division in terms of, the right hand, Trump's left, our right, I guess visually as we're watching the speech. All the Republicans giving standing ovations to a lot of what he said during the speech. Pretty much all of the Democrats doing nothing during the speech. So it's going to be. It was a good speech. I was very pleased with what he said. He gave a very moving tribute to Owens was his name, and I don't have his full name here. I apologize. So the Navy SEAL Owens, who was killed in Yemen, and that was actually Trump, which was a beautiful move. When Owens' body was brought back several weeks ago after the raid in Yemen, Trump just literally took Melania, hopped on Eagle One, I guess is the name of the helicopter, hopped on the Marine One. I'm sorry, Marine One is the helicopter. Flew down to the Air Force Base in Maryland, I believe it is, and met the casket. Didn't tell the press. The press was all up in arms that he didn't show up, all that kind of stuff. So, so he gave a very moving tribute to this widow. Now, what I want to talk about is there was actually a gentleman on Twitter who ended up sending out a tweet calling the widow an idiot for letting Trump use her. And what was very interesting is that the backlash was so huge. The backlash was so outrageous against this guy. He was a volunteer. He worked at for some financial institution in Chicago, some financial planning institution or something like that. And they fired him. They fired him for his tweet. It wasn't 24 hours after he sent this tweet out, and he was a Hillary volunteered for her campaign, some left-wing Democrat guy. Not 24 hours after, his Twitter account was deleted, his LinkedIn page was deleted, and calls to where he worked, because apparently somebody found his LinkedIn and knew where he worked, calls to the company, they confirmed that somebody got fired. And this guy is not to be heard from at this point. Now, here's what I want to say about this. The guy, his tweet was outrageous. It was insulting. Very inappropriate. The backlash was huge. People just slamming this guy from all perspective, slamming him for what he said. However, I believe in the First Amendment. It's his right to be an idiot. It's his right to say what he said. Okay, I don't agree with what he said. I think it was wholly inappropriate what he said, but he has the right to say it. And he paid the price for what he said. Do I believe he should have gotten fired? That's up to the company. Does he have a case? It is his First Amendment speech. Here's the difference, though, between people like us who believe in liberty and freedom, right? And these I wouldn't even call them left wing. I'd call them communists, really. That they only believe in free speech as long as it's their speech, right? I believe in speech for everyone. As long as you're not yelling fire in a crowded theater, which is what this guy did not do. You know what? He has the right to spout off his stupidity. Your thoughts, Ty?
Yeah, I agree with you, and to play off on some of that. I mean, to read, that somebody put something out there on Twitter and then they get some backlash about it, they take down that specific tweet. Well, he closed down his entire Twitter account entirely. And then there's still even further backlash. So what that proves is that just like all these other liberals, he had no idea of what popular belief would be. They surround themselves with all the same kind of individuals. They can't think outside their own box. So for him to say something like that, he thought he would get mostly the liberal left agreeing with him. Like the huge crowds around all the Hillary camp that weren't actually there, right? That's what he figured. He could say something like this and he get all kinds of people agreeing with him. And he couldn't fathom that what he was saying was just outrageous. It was just pathetic. And yeah, calling a widow an idiot and saying that she's just a pawn in some sort of game. Who was most recently awarded different, things that they didn't deserve? I mean, Biden? I mean, other people were awarded things that they didn't deserve. Well, here's a SEAL who's honored, an extremely honorable man who's fought for his country and died for his country, and he's being honored. And the wife, and for her, her basic service too, for being the wife of a SEAL. And this man calling her just being used or a puppet. I don't believe that for a second. And then the sentiment when you actually follow Trump going places, I mean, it's because he really honestly believes in heroes and that they're out there. And in this SEAL individually, I think. I don't think it was a political thing at all.
Here's the issue. The issue is that this guy has the right to say what he wants to say. Now, again, I don't agree with what he said. I think it was extremely insensitive. I think he deserved the backlash that he got. And you know what? Yeah. Have a backbone. If I post a tweet and people don't like it, now, granted, I'm not going to insult the widow of a Navy SEAL that got killed in action. And you know what? If I post a tweet that says, arm every legal citizen in Chicago, and the left wing doesn't like it, I'm not going to delete my Twitter account. I'm not going to back down from that. I'm going to go after these people because it's what I believe. And it just shows what a spineless, gutless piece of excrement this guy is. You're not even willing to take a stand for what you say. And now, again, I want to be very clear. I think what he said was despicable. I think it was horrible. But he has a First Amendment right to say it. So that's just my philosophy on that I believe in liberty and freedom for everybody. And if you want to say stuff that makes you a walking sack of excrement, just like Obozo the clown spent 8 years spouting nothing but excrement from his mouth. And you know what? He had a First Amendment right to do that. I don't agree with it. I'm glad he's out of office, but it still is right. And that's the difference between us and most of, even a lot of establishment right-wingers, right? And the radical communist left. They only believe in free speech as long as it's their speech, as long as it was what they want to push. They don't believe in our free speech. That's why we have liberty and freedom and Bertha. If you don't exercise the Second Amendment, you're not going to have the First Amendment. And this week, Michael Moore, to that point, Michael Moore was spouting off about Trump's speech and all this kind of stuff. And you know what? He is nothing but a walking moron. Every word out of his mouth is just stupid and moronic. And you know what? He has the right to say it. Now, the good news is most of the country isn't listening to him anymore because he's part of that, left-wing liberal celebrity, establishment that nobody cares about anymore. So, any other thoughts on that, Ty, before we move on?
The View probably, he's probably going to be the one person that still watches The View and hangs out with those kind of people. And who was it before? Whoopi Cushion?
Yes.
So at some point in time when they're checking their ratings, they'll find out they got one person keying in, and it's old, what's his face? Michael Moore, the walking idiot. But yeah, no, I agree. You have the right to say something, but if you say something idiotic, but I guess that's the other thing, though. Like you were saying, if you were saying something like, let's arm every citizen, you stand behind that belief, and then you have facts that back up why you think that is there. He had no fact behind it, and if it was one of his candidates using a death like Hillary has done in the past to push an agenda, because they never let a bad situation go to waste.
Right, never let a crisis go to waste, right.
No. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the other thing, though. It's only skin deep. Their belief in something like that is only skin deep. And when they don't have everybody else hopping in behind them like they're so used to, that they don't know what to do. Just like Hillary, and we think, she had the meltdown of crying and some alcoholic binge or whatever after, because she's been told one thing and couldn't see the fact behind, couldn't see anything through the bushes, through her, through the wool over her eyes. And that's the way this character is too. And then once he realizes that his belief's only that deep, he doesn't believe it anymore. He doesn't, or at least he'll go find somebody else who does.
Yes. Bottom line, regardless of whether you post something idiotic or not, he posted it because he believed it. Have a backbone and take a stand.
Yeah.
I mean, again, face the backlash. Defend your position. Don't go scurrying off into the, no man's land. Now, if you regret what you said, make an apology. You know what? After further thought, I was mouthing off. You know what? It wasn't the right thing to say. Explain yourself, but don't go scurrying off into, deleting your accounts and, have a backbone. And that's the thing. These people love to talk, but they have no backbone. They're not willing to take a stand, and to that end, they're not willing to take a stand. So, Soros has to hire thugs. He's got to pay thugs to come out and protest and cause disruptions. These aren't even the actual, people that believe anything, right? So anyway, moving on. Any other thoughts about that before we move on, Ty?
No, I think we pretty well covered it.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So next on the list, and this just, you know what? If we cannot have our judicial system actually being honest and following the law, what hope do we have? So this next article that we have, a judge in Oregon helped an illegal immigrant escape from ICE. And here's the outrageous part of this. This illegal immigrant was standing in her court accused of a DUI. So they're in the country illegally. They've committed a DUI. They've been arrested for that. He is appearing before her, this woman judge up in Oregon, and is illegal. So apparently after whatever proceedings happened for the the DUI charge, the judge somehow finds out that ICE is waiting for this illegal to come out of the courtroom, and she helps him go out a back door to escape from ICE. This is absolutely ridiculous. Now, apparently the judiciary up in Oregon is investigating this to figure out what happened. This is absolutely outrageous. Tom, your thoughts on this?
Well, the simple fact that this judge did this is just, again, it's one of those things that really pisses me off. Your responsibility is to uphold the law, not help criminals. I mean, that is not the whole point of your job. And if you can't exercise your job in a way that your personal feelings don't come into play, or your policies or whatever don't come into play, then you shouldn't be in the position that you're in. This judge had no right to help an illegal avoid a lawful action. It just, again, this topic just, it pisses me off. That individual should not be in the position she's in. And like you said, I know that ICE is not actually investigating this, but the judicial system there is looking into it. And I hope that if it comes out that it is factual, that they take some action. This is one of those cases where I think somebody should lose their job because they're not actually doing their job correctly. So, hopefully that if that comes out to be the case, this individual is not in that position anymore.
Ty?
Yeah, this whole thing is really unbelievable. The fact that, well, she needs to be investigated, this judge. And, as a judge, in order to take that seat and be given a gavel, and I'm not going into, how that's all set, but you're supposed to be able to, well, uphold the law and be fair and partial. We know what would happen if someone was given, we hear that all the time. This person received a worse sentence for a similar crime based on their skin color or whatever. We hear that. We see it in movies, everything, how someone will be given a white person committing a crime will be given a lighter sentence, whatever. But either way, you're looking at this person let someone go, or we don't know what they were even coming after. Was there someone injured in the DUI? We don't know. So for them to do that, I think this judge is basically aiding and abetting, or aiding, further, criminal activity, really. And then she needs to be investigated further than that, because what other people or whatever has she made that same sort of thing to? If she just let somebody else off the hook, or, we don't know how she's, conducting herself.
Yes. And so according to the article, which I'll post a link down below, of course, everything we talk about, according to the article, she is a member of a local Hispanic group. She apparently is Hispanic herself. You know what? I don't care what your ethnicity is. You need to uphold the law. And the fact that, and I'm sure this has happened before across the country, we just haven't heard about it. I mean, you are a judge. Now, here's the bigger issue. This man committed a DUI. It didn't say anybody else got hurt. He could have hurt somebody. What if he had killed somebody driving drunk? That is a very, hey, look, I am all for liberty and freedom. You want to go drink yourself into a stupor, you do that. Do it in your own house without anybody else around, so you're not going to hurt anybody. You do it while you're out, give your keys to somebody, get a designated driver, call a taxi, call Uber, call Lyft, get a ride. Don't injure other people because you want to be stupid and get smashing drunk. That's your right. You want to do that, but don't involve other people in that. And so if I had walked into the courtroom and I'd been charged with a DUI, they would throw the book at me. And it goes back to the bigger issue. American citizens first. We're paying our taxes. We're the ones who are being judged by the law. But yet illegals can just get away with this stuff? This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This judge had better lose her position and be disbarred. And quite likely, I'm going to continue to follow up with this story and see what happens. I'm gonna bet that she probably will face no ramification. She won't be disbarred. She'll continue to be a judge, which is absolutely just mind-boggling in our country. So, any other thoughts on that, Ty?
No, I think that's it's just absolutely ridiculous. But I do think that every other case involving other Hispanics or whatever would have to be looked into, or anybody, to see, if she's made these sort of things or attempts in the past. I mean, lighter sentences, slap on the wrist for a serious crime, that sort of thing, and it needs to be made right. She needs to be stepped down, absolutely. But I agree with you that probably nothing will happen.
Well, and she's abated in a further crime, right? The fact that she helped this man escape from ICE, and so that brings us back. The biggest, most prominent case from a couple years ago is the woman who was killed on the San Francisco pier. The illegal just shot her in the back. He had been deported 5 times. Now, I'm not aware that he had any other criminal history, but he had been deported 5 times, and yet he was still back in the country, and then murdered an American citizen. And yet Nancy Pelosi, I'm absolutely 100% convinced that Nancy Pelosi is an accessory to these crimes, because she is pushing sanctuary cities, protecting the illegals. What about protecting the rights of the families and the victims? And in the speech on Tuesday night, one of the things that Trump said was that he was starting this the new department under the Department of Homeland Security called VOICE, Victims of Illegal Criminals Engagement, Victim of Illegal Criminal Engagement. And it's a department within DHS to help victims who help victims of crimes committed by illegals. And what's even more outrageous is that basically not only did the Republican side stand and cheer about this, but the Democratic side booed. They booed over the fact that Trump was going to give a voice to the victims of crimes by illegals.
It just proves how brainwashed these people are. They don't understand. The elites we know want more and more illegals, want open borders, everything, because they'll take our handouts, we'll have a sanctuary city deal, and they'll vote Democratic. They'll vote for more handouts, they'll vote for more freebies, and we know the elites are like that. What's so sickening is that just the other base, the moronic left, just they buy right into this, and that's they're going to boo people, and they don't even think about it. It's like, well, if you get robbed at gunpoint, and you find out later they were supposed to be deported 3 times, then you start thinking, well, what was law enforcement doing? God forbid a family member or someone gets killed, and then you find this out. Well, hey, bozo, you voted for these sanctuary cities. This is what you wanted, and you booed. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. They're booing that let's take care of citizens that are being assaulted or injured or have had some run-in with illegals. Let's make them the bad guy. That's absolutely insane.
And further crime is being committed. First, they're encouraging the illegals to vote, which is a crime. They should not be voting at all. And that's why they're bringing him in. And Bozo, last summer, he was being interviewed by some Hispanic woman for some Hispanic network, and basically said, if you're in the country, you're a citizen, which you're not, and you should be able to vote, and nobody's going to come after you. Well, guess what? That was right there facilitating criminal activity.
Absolutely.
And I go back to my other point. How many of these people are you housing, Pelosi? How many of them are you putting up in your house? Oh, you're not doing that, are you? Because these aren't people that are going to, treat you with respect. How many of your 5 kids, your adult kids, are housing, these Islamic immigrants, these illegal Hispanic immigrants that are committing the crimes? Just the fact that you have entered this country without going through the proper process means you have committed a crime. Period. End of story. It's just craziness. It gets crazier, which is why we encourage people, carry. Open carry, concealed carry, carry any way you can for wherever you live, but protect yourself. Despite Trump's efforts, there's a lot of people, subverting what he's trying to do. And so, you know what? Personal protection is the way to go. We know that. And that's what we encourage with our show, with our website, twogunmojo.com. Always carry. Open carrying too, like I do, may not be the way to go for you, and that's fine. Concealed carry, but you need to carry. Get educated, get trained, get armed. That's the goal. Protect yourself and your family. All right, any other thoughts on that?
Especially when visiting sanctuary cities.
Right, exactly. Well, what's really interesting about that is that not too long ago in Phoenix, Arizona, somebody was pushing the city council to actually have a vote to specifically make Phoenix a sanctuary city, for the city council to actually declare it. What's very interesting, especially with Trump basically telling any city, if you're a sanctuary city, we're going to cut off federal funds, the Phoenix City Council voted that down. They voted it down to officially declare themselves as a sanctuary city. I thought that was very interesting. Now, that doesn't mean they aren't necessarily a sanctuary city and that they're not privately, telling the police force don't do anything, but they officially voted it down to make it official, to declare that.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the ongoing saga, the ongoing push by all the people that can't stand Trump, which, by the way, I'd like to remind the audience, is a very small group of people. It's the weaponized propaganda that comes out because they control the media, what's on TV, and it's the 20% of people who voted, because I believe up to 80% of the voters actually voted for Trump. So keep in mind that it's all a bunch of BS. The bottom line, though, is that this whole thing about the Russian connection, about with Sessions now, and the Democrats claiming that he lied under oath, enough already. Enough. They are grasping at straws. It's a death rattle for the Democrats. They lost. They're such sore losers. Get over it. This ongoing thing with Senator Sessions and the claim that he lied on confirmation hearings and how things were worded, and what's even funnier is that Al Franken is involved in this. Al Franken is a buffoon. He needs to be in the gorilla suit from Trading Places, frankly. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Your thoughts on this the whole Russian thing and with Sessions and.
I think the whole thing is just unbelievable. They're trying to, you ask somebody one thing very specifically, and he had no reason, or Sessions didn't even need to necessarily respond in what he was. He said, "No, I don't believe I had any contact with them," and he was saying that in that context of what he was talking about. And it's like, oh well, at some other location or during some other something else that you were involved in, you talked to this person or didn't. Therefore, you're a liar. You should step down. I mean, if that's the case, well, then Hillary Clinton should be a low-paid lawyer in the middle of wherever she grew up, and that's all she ever should have made it to. Because you can look back and all these different things. Oh no, I never even met that person. Oh, here's a video of you meeting this person. Did anything happen to her? Did she need to step down from any office or anything? No, it's absolutely ridiculous. And again, I think it's them grasping at straws. It's them just throwing a temper tantrum.
Trump did an awesome thing on Saturday, which was basically tweet out pictures of Pelosi meeting with this same Russian ambassador that they're accusing Sessions of lying about meeting or talking to. And to be clear, what the whole controversy is that the question that Franken asked was, did you have any contact with the Russians? And the context, even though he didn't say it specifically, the context was in regards to the campaign. And Sessions answered that truthfully. No, as any part of my involvement with the Trump campaign, I had no contact with the Russians. Now, Sessions was on the high-ranking committee. He was the leader of the committee of I forget which Senate committee it was, but in his duties in that committee, he met with this Russian ambassador. Completely legitimate. Everything was on the public calendar. You can go back and look and see when he met with them. There was nothing hidden. There was no covert stuff going on. But yet, it's the Democrats pushing this. And here's my big thing. Where were the Democrats? Why were they not calling for Holder's resignation when he got caught shipping guns to the Mexican drug cartels to blame the Second Amendment? Where were the Democrats not calling for Loretta Lynch's resignation when she met with former President Bill Clinton privately on a plane, which was a complete conflict of interest because the FBI was investigating Hillary? I mean, this is it's a death rattle. They're grasping at straws. There is now evidence of Schumer, the bride of Chucky Schumer, that piece of excrement, walking piece of excrement, with Putin years ago. I'm not sure if there's pictures with him and this Russian ambassador they're talking about. There's definitely pictures. Pelosi. I've never met this guy. And then Trump tweets out a picture of her at a meeting with this guy. She had to have met him. Even though there's 10 people in the meeting, you don't show up at a meeting and not meet everybody that's in the meeting, especially a government meeting. She met this guy. And to that end, in the speech on Tuesday night, they would pan to Pelosi. This woman, she's on her last leg. I don't know if she's sick. I don't know what's going on. I mean, she is a little older, but I mean, she just looked like a skeleton who was out of there. She kept licking her lips, doing this. I mean, she just looked like a freaking witch. And she looked horrible. I mean, physically, she just looked absolutely horrible. And, of course, everything out of her mouth now, she still thinks Bush is the president. And, the fact that she's hanging around with Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who is another complete airhead. We've invaded Korea, by the way. Remember that? I mean, I'm sorry. The Russians invaded Korea. The Russians
invaded Korea, yeah.
Right. We don't know if it's North Korea or South Korea, but the Russians have invaded Korea. So, I'm still waiting to hear about that. Even the weaponized propaganda hasn't reported on the Russians invading Korea. And you'd think with all this Russian talk, they would have hopped all over that, right?
Right.
Craziness.
Well, what's funny about all that is if someone was meeting, some sort of, espionage kind of a deal or whatever with the Russians, I mean, it would be somebody other than this particular, and I don't remember the name of that dignitary or that political, but I know that he's one that visits pretty much everybody, right? I mean, he's an ambassador or whatever that talks to both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, regardless of and visits all over. So most people have probably met this person at one point or another.
According to the article, he is the top Russian diplomat here in the U.S. His name is Sergei Kislyak. I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly. Right, okay. Sergei Kislyak. He has met with he's been the diplomat since 2008. He's met with Democrats. He's met with Republicans. It's what happens in Washington, D.C. There's no clandestine conspiracy here. Just before Trump was inaugurated, he spoke at, I believe it was Stanford University, did a 90-minute speech. He's talking at universities. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. The bottom line is that the Democrats are in a death spiral, and they're little crybabies. You didn't get your way. Your horse in the race didn't win, Hillary Clinton. Sessions is probably at some point going to go after her for her email server. I mean, this woman is criminal to no end. And your lady didn't win. So you know what? Get over it. It's enough. We've had enough of this. It's time, and Trump needs to go on the offense. He needs to go after these people and really just take care of business. He's got leaks in his own, his own inner circle. He's got leaks in a lot of other departments, within the government. And while he's one person, he needs to start really just cleaning house, even though it's only been, a little more than a month, and putting people in that are loyal and want to follow his agenda. Bottom line, things are crazy. Things are getting crazier by the minute, and we need to step up our game, really start promoting gun ownership. It was very interesting because I read an article, and in the article, it was talking about a gentleman who had placed an order for like a case of PMags in anticipation that Hillary was going to win the election. And apparently he placed that order just before the election. And then when Trump won, canceled the order. I think that's a mistake. I think now we are in more danger than ever before. Not from Trump, but from all of these people that want to subvert what he's trying to accomplish. I mean, we were talking about this judge. So several weeks ago, the 3-judge panel that shot over in California, no surprise there, right? That shot down his first executive order on a 90-day moratorium from the 7 Islamic countries that are outrageously radical, right? We talked about Somalia being a failed state. They don't even have a functioning government. I mean, it's just not even, it's got borders on a map, but it's just complete chaos run by warlords. So the fact that we have a judiciary, which for the most part, I know not all judges are like this, the majority of them though are, that we have a judiciary that won't even uphold the law for American citizens. And what's even funnier about that is Trump got on TV and read the law that gives him the right as president to shut down immigration into the country. And I agree with Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter says, shut it all down. We should have no more immigration. And I agree with that. Shut it all down. Shut down immigration completely for at least a year or two. Let's get rid of all the illegals that are here now. How do you deport millions of illegals? And here's where I disagree with Trump. And here's where, I might create a controversy. How do you deport millions of illegals? One at a time. You need to go. Now, I'm not saying that Trump isn't correct in creating an easier process to become an American. From what I understand, it's very expensive. It's very lengthy. And you know what? It's an insult to all those immigrants that went through that process legally, that paid the money, that we just allow these people to be here illegally and just bring them in. Whether we're importing them from the Middle East or whether we're allowing our southern border to be overrun. And enough. Shut it all down. Get everybody out of the country that shouldn't be here, and then create a process. And I agree with Trump. He said in his speech, we should be allowing legal immigration for people that actually provide something to America. They have an education, they offer some kind of, brain power to the country that's going to benefit the country. That's what most every other country does, is they allow people to immigrate, but they have to be, they have to have some kind of education. They have to have some kind of degree, some kind of specialty in science or math or medicine or whatever that benefits our country. Not just this mass importation of a Democratic voting bloc because they get free stuff. And that's it. That's the summary, right? It's immigration to create a larger Democratic voting bloc because they get free welfare. That's it right there. That's the reason why they're doing it. Nope. Gotta stop. End of story.
Well, exactly. If you hear, a company that is going through major changes, we'll say nothing specific, but an extremely large company. If it's failing, and you figure out why, you start seeing out where the failure's happening. And I mean, companies that are in it to to make money, to stay in the long haul, they hire certain caliber of people. Some of them, they're only going to hire somebody that has a college education. They're gonna weed out the ones that don't, that aren't helping that company grow, that are stagnating. And that's the way the country should be. And a company like that's going through some sort of growing pains or business. That's what they do. You have a hiring freeze kind of a thing. You stop everything and you take note. You start looking at what's going on. That's what we need to do here. Shut it down for a couple of years and then start processing. Start figuring out what it is. And I agree with you. You deport them one at a time.
Right. And that's what's happening, really. ICE finally has the authority to start deporting people. Now, what I didn't realize, and I need to look into this, I mean, apparently under Obama, he did deport quite a few people, which I'm very surprised to hear. So I'm not sure what his criteria was or how that worked. We just have seen all these criminals that get released because ICE won't do anything, right? And all of a sudden, boom, they've committed a heinous crime. They've killed somebody or seriously injured somebody. And now we're asking the question, why were they in the country? What was the issue? What was the problem? Excellent. All right, everyone. Great show today. Thank you, Ty, for your input. Thank you, Tom, for your input. I really appreciate it. Again, our show, the Liberty and Freedom Show, is brought to you by my website, twogunmojo.com. Link will be down below. If you need any gunsmithing, again, Ty is your guy. Go to our website, twogunmojo.com. Click on in the upper left-hand side, click on the Contact Two Gun Mojo. Give us some contact information, what kind of gunsmithing you're looking for, and Ty will get back to you and get that worked out. So we are bringing social media to Two Gun Mojo. We're working on getting that set up. We are also working on podcasting, so you'll be able to download the audio of the show, put it on your favorite electronic device, listen to that on the go. We'll have information on that shortly as well. Again, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Everyone, we'll see you next Sunday morning. And we'll look forward to talking about the continuing craziness of this next week. Have a good day, everybody.